and welcome to Totally Schway, a podcast about the DCAU and whatever the hell else I want it to be about.
I don't know why you're laughing.
This is the second take. My name is Mary.
My name is Luke.
And I think it's going to be a good day to talk about whatever we're going to talk about. But first, I need to ask you a question. Do you have any news?
No.
I do.
Oh, okay, go on then.
I bought too many nail polishes.
Oh, if we're going into that kind of news, I bought too many Jack Kirby comics.
No. So I don't... They know about like two of my collections, don't they? But they don't know that I collect nail polish. Like specific nail polishes.
No.
Yeah, I collect... they're both English brands, I believe, too. And I really like them. And I don't know if you guys know this, but I used to be a beauty therapist. So, yeah, that's all. That's the news.
The news, Mary used to have a job. And she's bought a lot of nail polish. Are you taking notes, Bruce Tim?
No, I never really got into I was very much into beauty, and I still love that sort of stuff. But having it as a career never really stuck with me because I am not everyone's best friend, and I don't call people back sometimes, and I don't drink, and I don't do fun things. Or what other people think are fun things. I sit at home. I talk. Well, the only people I do get back to is I get back to people that are on the podcast. And if like they email me, it might be a week or two, but I get back to them. And when I come home, I usually watch something like DCAU related. And I find that really great. But the beauty industry just, I was not ever made to fit that mold. And that's it. That was the news.
Cool. There will be a quiz at the end,
yeah,
so take notes.
Pop quiz knows. I like that movie, but anyway, let's talk about Lex Luthor.
Yeah, that's what we're actually here to talk about today, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
We already did a Totally Schway Flipside episode, the sister podcast to this podcast.
Mm-hmm.
That was an awkward sentence. It's over on Mary's channel where we talked about the other Lex Luthors. Mm-hmm. So non-DC animated universe ones, although we still managed to talk about Clancy Brown for
obviously
ages.
Any chance I get, I'll talk about him. But today's episode is just strictly about the DCAU Lex Luthors. Yeah. But mainly, it's our love letter to Clancy Brown.
I was going to say, you pluralized them because Michael Rosenbaum was Lex Luthor in one episode, very briefly.
Any chance I get.
Yep.
Any chance I get.
But it is predominantly Clancy Brown.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Oh my goodness. I cannot ever get him out of my head sometimes. No. I said that didn't make sense, but I can't get him out of my head. Like, sometimes when you wake up in the morning, you've got a song stuck in your head. At the moment, for me, it's Pink Pony Club by Chapel Roan. Just because I sing it to my cat all of the time. Well, I think two of the cats. And then it's because we watched Superman recently, Superman the animated series recently. I just have random Lex Luthor quotes. And it's obviously in Clancy Brown's voice. And I'm like, oh, yes. You go, Lex. Mm-hmm. And yeah, that's the news today.
Are we taking notes? Because there will be a quiz at the end. So, okay, what is it about Clancy Brown's Lex Luthor that sticks with you?
Well, I've talked about it before, but his voice resonates with me as it reminds me, like most voices that they've put in the DCAU, of a classic movie. Mm-hmm. And I love people like Marlon Brando. I like Marlon Brando so much I have a tattoo of his name on me. And I love like James Dean and people like that. But you also have people like Vincent Price and Humphrey Bogart, where you just know their voice. Oh, and Orson Welles, you know their voice. Even if you hear it, even if I hear, because I have terrible hearing, even if I hear a little tiny bit of it, I'm like, I'm coming over. Move over. I'm listening to it, because that's, those are my things. When I hear Clancy Brown, it makes me, it's familiar like that, and it makes me feel nice.
Mm-hmm. Yes, he's another one of these people who has a voice with character.
Yeah.
In that he has a very recognisable and distinctive voice, but it's not him putting on a voice. That's just how he sounds. Yeah, and I think he was very well cast as Lex Luthor, because he kind of portrays the character with kind of an air of superiority and arrogance that very quickly flips into anger when things don't go his way.
Yeah. And the thing is, it's not everybody could do this. Like, go from one emotion to another in a split second. And not only can you see it in Superman the Animated Series and Justice League, when you're watching the show, you can hear it, and you can hear the moment that it switches. Mm-hmm. And not everybody can do that.
Yeah. When I think of examples of that, so in The Last Son of Krypton Part 3, when Superman confronts Lex Luthor near the end, Luthor says, I built Metropolis, everything that happens here is because of me. I'm almighty powerful Lex Luthor, but someone with your talents could be very useful to me. Why don't you come in and sit down? So he's trying to be very persuasive and charming. Mm-hmm. Superman just stands there staring at him, silently judging him. And he just flips, goes, say something, and then flings his robot statue at Superman. Oh,
and that scene with Amazo, when there's the three of them, I think it's Amazo, Luthor, and who was the third person?
Is it Mercy? Which scene are you talking about?
The one where he's telling Amazo, like, he sees the evolution. He might not, be a part of...
the Atom. Forever. The Atom. Yeah, so you're talking about Justice League Unlimited. Yeah. Okay, yeah, sorry.
That scene, I'm not even kidding when I say this, and I might have said this to you when we were watching it. If this would have been a live-action TV show, I think it would have won an Emmy just by that scene alone, because it gave everything. It gave anger. It gave faux despair. It gave faux empathy. And I say faux because this is Luthor. You never know if it really is or isn't. And then you get, at the end, you get a speck of Luthor being genuine. And Clancy Brown did all of that. Mm-hmm. And for him to be able to do that in just one scene, you have a load of emotions like that. Damn.
You just reminded me of something there. So this was something I read in Stan Berkowitz's book, Beyond the Bat.
Oh, we love Stan Berkowitz.
Yeah, Stan Berkowitz wrote some of the best episodes of Superman and Justice League. And he was saying that he was at the Emmys, actually, I believe it was the Emmys, and he was at the bar getting a drink, and the guy next to him was the creator of Mad Men. And they made a small talk, and saying, and what do you do? He said, I wrote for Justice League. And the creator of Mad Men was really full of praise for the first season of Justice League. He said him and his kids used to watch it and they loved it. They didn't so much enjoy the later series where it got more serious. And I'm like, is this bizarro world? It was way better in those later episodes. What is he talking about?
Who knows?
But Stan's got a whole chapter in his book about it, of talking about how kind of taking children's superhero characters and putting them in more serious adult situations. And I don't mean like inappropriate, I mean just like grown up.
Humanizing them more as well.
Yes, yeah. He thinks that maybe it's not the best idea based on this conversation he had with the creator of Mad Men.
Well, based on one person.
Yeah, exactly. I offer the counterpoint, Stan, if you're listening. Probably not.
Hey Stan.
Yeah, hey Stan, hope you're doing well.
Yeah, thank you.
Let's just manifest it that Stan's listening. But I offer the counterpoint that, that first season of Justice League was fine. There's nothing wrong with it. But it really didn't come into its own until season 2. And then it just took off like a rocket ship with Justice League Unlimited.
Yeah.
And those are the things that people talk about. They're not going to be going, oh yeah, wasn't it fun when I don't know. I'm trying to think of something fun from season 1. I can't even think of season 1.
Of Orion again.
Mary doesn't like Orion.
No, I don't mind Orion. It's his little hover thing.
Yeah, his little vehicle he's got. It looks like he's holding a Zimmer frame. Okay, so I get it. Like a walker. But whenever she sees him, she just bursts into laughter. I'm like, you're not supposed to have that reaction.
But it just looks like he's holding, those dynamite things where the triggers. It just looks like he's holding 2 of the triggers like this.
Yeah, but listen, Orion wasn't in season 1 of Justice League.
No, but I just thought about it.
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, there were good episodes in season 1, obviously. I like the Injustice for All one, and Secret Society was okay. Secret Society was
I love
good.
season 1.
I thought season 2 was just so much better, though.
I do love season 2 as well.
It's like almost every episode was just great. Hereafter, I adore that one. I know you do as well, because you made a video about it. But we're kind of going off on a tangent here.
Let's get back to Lex.
All right, so go back to Lex Luthor. So what I really like is I'm just knocking stuff over here. They probably couldn't even hear it. What I really like is the way that Lex Luthor changes from Superman the Animated Series by the time we see him the last time in Justice League Unlimited.
Mm-hmm.
He is at the top of the world in The Last Son of Krypton.
Mm-hmm.
He's had this $1 billion contract to build a powerful mech suit that gets, air quotes, stolen. And then, the plan is that Lex will then get a counter contract to build something even better. But Superman turns up and absolutely annihilates his battlesuit, ruining Luthor's plan. So he's lost his $1 billion battlesuit, and he's probably not going to get that even more expensive contract to make something even better.
Mm-hmm.
For anyone else, losing that kind of money would absolutely ruin them. For Lex Luthor, it is an inconvenience. It is frustrating. But Luthor then invests all of his money into finding ways to best Superman. And it's astounding, really, the things that he's able to create. So they essentially create the ability to make someone immortal by transferring their mind into a robot body, in terms of Metallo.
Mm-hmm.
Think about the applications of that. If you had some debilitating disease, or incurable cancer or something, you could potentially live forever. It's not an ideal situation because you're completely numb as the robot, but you continue. But he did that specifically to create someone to attack Superman. And it's so petty. It's just really indicative of his character. There are so many other things that he innovates simply to get the best of Superman. So he pays Edward Leitner to develop his hard light holograms. Think of how you could use hard light holograms in entertainment, for instance. You're no longer going to the cinema and passively sitting in a chair. You could have the characters perform in front of you. You could actually be inside of that war movie. I know, actually, that sounds pretty terrible now I say that out loud. But, you could actually be there on the storming of Normandy, seeing it in 3D around you. But no, he'd rather use that technology to have someone beat up Superman. And it's really indicative of the quality of his character. He goes on about how he is, the king of Metropolis, but he doesn't actually care about other people.
Metropolis.
Or Metropolis, that's right. He'll just rebuild. Anything gets knocked down, that's fine. I'll just build it again. It's fine, no problem.
He's like, meh. I got the money.
Yeah, he does petty little things like funding the radio station that Livewire worked at, where her her show is the most popular show, and her whole agenda is just slagging off Superman. And that's just something Lex Luthor does for amusement. He funds this whole company just to pump out anti-Superman propaganda. And then perhaps we could talk a little bit about how he treats Mercy, Mary.
Y'all, come on. she needed to be in the show more, first off. Second, kick him to the curb. And look what she did. Look what she kind of did. She did at one point in time. Now, who cares what happened after? She did go back to him. But she did it. And that's the thing. Nobody messes with Lex, but Mercy did.
Yeah, and one of the things that the first 2 seasons of Justice League did is they took Lex Luthor from his like businessman persona and made him more of a overt supervillain with his body armor and shooting lasers and his he formed the Injustice gang.
Pew.
Yeah. Sorry, I was just laughing because when we saw a Justice League Unlimited intro where Orion swings by in his little flying thing shooting lasers, and I went pew pew pew, and Mary was in hysterics for too long. Anyway, but I feel like Justice League Unlimited kind of did a little bit of course correction there because, okay, yes, in season 2 of Justice League, Lex Luthor helped defeat the Justice Lords, and that's how he got his pardon, and that's why he stopped acting like a supervillain and went back to acting like a businessman and presidential candidate.
But we still got to see a little bit of that villain in that conversation.
Oh, yes.
Especially that conversation that he was having with Amazo and Adam. Well, it was mainly to Amazo. You got to see every single part of Lex in that conversation. And you always, with Lex Luthor in the DCAU, you always end up in the same place. You're not conflicted with Lex. You are not conflicted at all. You're just kind of pissed off at him. Because he could do so many great things. But what he chooses to do is be the villain.
It's always self-serving, isn't it?
Yeah.
If he wanted to prove he was better than Superman, he could have actually solved a lot of the problems that Superman tried to deal with.
Yeah.
He could have been in competition with him to be better. And that's how he would have proven his superiority. Mm-hmm. Instead, he was petty and selfish and lashed out with violence.
Yeah. He was being a loser.
And, he was the underlying villain in Justice League Unlimited Season 1 because he was the one that was providing tech and funding to Cadmus, the government agency.
Who? What?
All in the name of getting the best of the Justice League.
Mm.
And I remember very vividly when the reveal happened showing why Lex Luthor was acting the way he had been, that he had been taken over by Brainiac. And he very dramatically transforms. I remember watching that when it first came out, and my jaw actually dropped. It doesn't happen very often, but I was like, oh! And I was trying to think, oh God, how has that happened? And the fact that they called back to the episode Ghost in the Machine, where Brainiac kidnapped Lex Luthor and had him build him a robot body, and then shot him with a laser beam that didn't actually seem to hurt him. They explain that away by saying, no, he embedded nano machinery inside of him to lie in wait. And when the time is right, it will take over. And the nano machines had cured his kryptonite cancer.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
The thing I love about Justice League Unlimited is the way they just called back to so many events in the previous shows. And it's kind of funny because I know that, or at least I have read interviews with Bruce Timm where he says that continuity isn't that important. He doesn't want people to get too bogged down in it. But Justice League Unlimited was so heavily focused on continuity and callbacks to previous events. And that's why it resonates so much still, I think, with many people.
I still like the fact that Lex is still very important. And unlike some of the villains that we see in comics and TV shows and movies, sometimes you're one and done, But with Lex, from Superman to the very last thing in Justice League, that Lex Luthor, things that he did are still resonating with you.
Well, yes, and it's funny that the person that saves Earth is actually Lex Luthor.
Yeah.
So all I was saying earlier about he should do the things that Superman's trying to do to prove that he's the best, he does actually do that in the final episode of Justice League Unlimited when he hands Darkseid the solution to the anti-life equation, and it destroys them both. Mm-hmm. But it saves everybody.
That is such a lovely... It's a lovely scene, but again... Lex is doing it for Lex.
Oh yeah.
Not to necessarily just save the world. Yeah, I'm sure he wants to save the world, but he wants the legend of Lex Luthor.
I think that is true as well. Mm-hmm. Obviously, at this point, it looks like Darkseid's going to take over the Earth and destroy it. Now, that's Lex Luthor's home. Metropolis is what he's built, and he wants to go global. He said as much to Superman earlier on. Or I think he said he wanted to go national, but anyway. He can't do that if there's no planet left. But at the same time, by saving Earth, doing something that Superman couldn't do, he has proved his superiority.
And he finally got the one-up in the end.
Yeah, he did.
Even though Superman has saved many worlds, could not save his own.
Yeah.
But Lex did.
Yeah.
And ultimately, Lex knew that people would remember him. But let's talk about Clancy Brown, please.
Yeah, let's talk more about Clancy Brown.
Can we please? Okay, here. I know this has nothing to do with Lex Luthor, but I love the show Dexter. I loved it from the moment I saw it, I think back in 2005 or 2006. I just loved it. I loved Michael C. Hall. I think I've talked about loving 6 Feet Under as well. But when I watched what is it? Not Resurrection. The Dexter, when Dexter is in, snowy bits. The second series of it. When I heard... I had no idea who's... Because I love going into a TV show not knowing what's happening. But when I heard Clancy Brown's voice, because I was looking at something on my phone while watching the show, I was literally, and I think Luke might have heard me, because I was sick as well. I think that's when I had COVID. I said, "Hot's Clancy!" or something like that. It was very, Southern dramatic. And I was like, this is my favorite TV show on the Citadel. And I could not get over it, because I had never actually went in to watch a show just because somebody like Clancy Brown was in it. But oh my goodness, right after that, well, I say right after that, it was a while after that in terms of when it came out. Then he was in Penguin, and I was like, he was so fantastic in both of them. And I just, when I heard him, I was like, yeah, this is great. And then when the episode ended, I was like, they're gonna ruin it for me, aren't they? They're gonna ruin my idea of Clancy Brown. Oh, hell no. It was perfect.
Have you seen The Highlander?
Which one?
The first one.
TV show, movie? No,
the movie.
I'm pretty sure I have, because my stepdad really likes them, but...
Clancy Brown is the villain in that.
Oh, I don't remember that.
He has a shaved head.
How old was I when that came out?
Oh, God, I don't know. You probably would have been... You might not even have been born yet when that came out. She's looking it up.
Highlander movie.
Release date. This is the exciting part for everyone. Yeah, she hadn't even been born.
Oh my goodness, that was 1986. She was nothing but nothing.
Yeah.
She was nothing. My mother had not even thought about thinking about having me. And this is the news. That's going to get really old, isn't it?
Yeah, and there was Clancy Brown starring in a big movie with Christophe Lambert. and Sean Connery, with a soundtrack by Queen.
And I haven't rewatched this.
Yeah, I'm surprised you haven't rewatched it.
I know.
It's really good.
There's 3 things that I love. Well, 4, because I do like Lambert.
Christophe Lambert.
Almost as much as I love Camembert.
Okay.
Yeah.
Anyway,
I'm a very it is one of those days where I am kind of hyper but really tired at the same time.
Yeah, I'm really tired as well.
I'm kind of delulu, but that's okay because we're talking about Clancy Brown.
Yeah. All right, so to bring this back on track.
Mm-hmm. Usually I'm the one that does it.
I know. I'm doing like a weird twisty finger gesture like I'm trying to twirl a lasso. Favourite Lex Luthor, I'm going to say moments rather than episodes.
Well, I've talked about it just a few moments ago. One of my favorite moments is that speech that he gives Amazo.
Mm-hmm. When they are miniature.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Another one is when he he has that armor on him, and it gets destroyed, and he's just laying there in his underwear and everything.
You're talking about when Amazo rips it off.
I don't know how Mr. Brown did this, but I felt like I was there because it was the emotion behind that, and I just love that. And also, anytime he is there with his shark, it's just like, you've got to be insane. I do not condone that, by the way. But you gotta be insane just to have like a shark there. And then when the shark, like, what I love about that, when the shark, like, when the glass gets broken, you know what? He's like, fix it. That's it. He's like, he doesn't care about the shark.
Yeah, the shark nearly ate him as well. But Superman saved him and put the shark back in the shallow water.
He just did not care.
So, for anyone that is not massively following what we're saying, in Lex Luthor's office, he has got a big tank, like a fish tank, I suppose you might call it, going around an aquarium going around the perimeter of his office. Mm-hmm. But rather than having like tropical fish or goldfish or whatever, he's got an actual shark in there, just swimming around, circling him all day. But
I like those scenes because that shark is a great little clue about who Lex is.
Yes.
Lex is not the shark by any means. He is not the shark, but he wants to be the shark. He wants to be the main man. He wants to be the main thing that people worry about. But if you think about it, he's not. And he ends up realizing that in some of the later episodes and in Justice League. But he wants to be that shark. He thinks of himself as that shark, but he is not the shark. Does that make sense?
Yes, it does make sense. Mm-hmm. And I think Superman's presence reminds him that he is not the shark.
Yeah.
And that's why he has such a strong negative reaction.
He is nothing but the algae at the bottom of the ocean.
Ouch. Ouch.
Well, you asked what my favorite moments were.
Yeah. So I think you've listed out some good ones there. I particularly like in Ghost in the Machine, there's a moment where Lex Luthor's been working solidly overnight on Brainiac's suit and he's slowing down, and Brainiac's like, "Why are you stopping?" He goes, "I require sustenance, I've got to eat, sleep." So Brainiac sends one of his drones to smash open a chocolate dispenser, a candy machine. And Lex Luthor runs over and goes, "Oh!" and stuffs his face with Snickers. And he catches a glimpse of himself in the reflection of the glass and feels shame. And I was like, "Oh, we've all been there, Lex. We've all been there."
Have I been there?
Yeah, well, you tell me.
I don't think I have. I do like a carb. But chocolate is not. I don't think I'd go goo for.
Fair enough.
Chocolate.
I also like in the last episode of Superman, the animated series Legacy Part 2, Lex Luthor's been advising General Hardcastle on how to deal with Superman because he's been brainwashed by Brainiac and staged an invasion. And Lex's solution is to inject Superman with like liquid kryptonite, I guess. So basically it's like a lethal injection for him. And he has this wonderful glee on his face as he's walking towards the imprisoned Superman with this glowing green syringe. And he's so confident in his own success that he allows Superman to have some final words, and Superman's final words are to, I believe he headbutts Lex on the nose.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, I think he headbutts him. He won't punch him.
Yeah.
And then, Lois comes to the rescue. But it was just his supreme confidence and arrogance, and then he just ends up with a busted nose. I think actually ends up with a broken jaw. That was it. He ends up with a broken jaw because at the end of the episode, when they're doing interviews with people to hear their opinions about Superman, and he's got his jaw wired shut, and he says, "No man should have that much power." Thought that was really cool. And speaking of Lex Luthor's interview, I suppose. Well, I suppose it's not an interview. He's having a phone call during the episode, The Main Man, doing some business. And then Lobo just comes smashing through the ground floor. And he's like, "What the devil?"
Any scene with Lobo in it is a good scene, because it kind of breaks up the crapness sometimes, as in like the situation, not any of the writing or anything. All of that's impeccable in my opinion. But in terms of like, when everybody thought Superman was dead, Lobo comes in and is like, I'm part of the Justice League now. I'm like, okay.
So I am the replacement Superman. Of course I am.
Martian Manhunter is just like, no. No.
What was it he shouts at Lobo when he leaves? "We didn't ask for your help."
Yeah, something like that. It was so funny. I just, the Lex Luthor is the best villain in the DCAU.
That's a perfectly valid take.
Yeah. So now that I've said that, what is said shall be, and what hasn't said shall be read out by Luke. So let's get to those comments. Okay,
let's get to the comments then. Got quite a few this time. So these were the comments on our last episode, which talked about the significance of Jack Kirby and his contributions, indirect contributions, I should say, towards the DC animated universe. And the first comment we have is from Mandalorian Hunter 1, who says, "I feel bad for Jack Kirby. His creations and influence were unquestionable and never ending, but he was treated terribly at the end of his life. He passed a year before I was born. It's sad he went before he got to see his creations on the big screen." I will say one thing. I think that towards the latter part of his life, I think he felt more fulfillment and appreciation, because in animation, when he worked in animation, he was treated with a lot of respect. And even when he was no longer able to work at the standard that he felt was acceptable, plenty of people stepped in to help him and didn't ask for anything in return, just to make sure that he could continue to support himself and his family. Also, he was very well compensated for the action figures he designed. I think it was the Superpowers figures. Apparently he made a huge amount of money off of those and was very happy. So, I completely agree that there were times in his life where he was not shown the respect he should have been. But he's very well regarded now. Absolutely, definitely now.
Could you imagine what he would have felt like seeing the love that he gets on the internet now?
Yeah.
Like, it's bonkers how much people go on about, like, Jack Kirby.
Yes, yeah, I saw an interview with his longtime assistant, and actually a writer on Superman the Animated Series. What was his name? Is it Mark Evanier? Evanier? I apologise if I've mispronounced. But he said that he is absolutely tickled pink by seeing all of the love that Kirby's creations get, particularly his New Gods characters, after Jack had initially been told by DC that no one would ever be interested in licensing those characters. He's like, when I go to Target and see a Darkseid action figure or an Orion action figure, I get a big warm feeling in my heart.
Yes.
Okay, so next we have play content. I had no idea there were DC Barbies. I didn't get a chance to see her exhibit in London. It was sold out that day, but did at least manage the Tim Burton one. I'd like to think I was the first person to guess Barbie's movie would be a masterpiece, but I didn't put it in writing, and the friend I said it to definitely won't remember, so I can't prove it. I have to settle for being the first person I know with the same name/face as me who said it. Though if anyone wants to challenge that title, feel free. I've never been enormously into the New Gods, but I wish I was. Do you know what? I felt that way until recently, but I've been reading them.
I was just thinking that.
And going, oh, they're actually really good. Once you get your head... The thing that would always put me off is the Kirby's dialogue always felt strange to me, but it's actually... writer Tom King, the DC writer Tom King, referred to it as unusual poetry. And once that got into my head, I was like, oh, no, he's right. It's right. This is actually really good. There's a you probably saw this, actually. Well, Connor might not have. Some of you may have seen I shared a panel on my Instagram stories from an issue of Mr. Miracle that just... It delights me. The dialogue is just, it fills me with joy and really makes me laugh. I don't know if it was meant to be funny, but it really does make me laugh. And it was a villain has called Mr. Miracle on the phone. This evil apocalyptic figure has figured out how to reach Mr. Miracle over the phone. And he says, "Nothing can be hidden from one such as I, scot-free. Your telephone number is known to me." Just... the idea of an evil being from Apocalypse taking the time to call up Mr. Miracle to give him abuse over the phone just tickles me pink. But anyway, I think it's because there's not that much focus on them in the DCAU or other DC animation. They rarely lead a story. I quite like the JLU episodes where they're prominent in, but both are Flash centric. So I think that mostly means I like the Flash.
Me too.
By the way, I'm soon to be watching the Rocky Horror Show in Llandudno, not long after my comment mentioning the place. What are the chances?
Can I try?
Yeah.
Llandudno.
No.
No.
You said Llandudno.
How what?
So, like a...
I did it.
Yeah, you did. You didn't actually say the name.
Oh, how do you say it again?
Llandudno.
Llandudno.
That was close enough. I've known I was going for ages. I probably mentioned it because of that. This isn't a big twist. Do you know if the place your uncle owned is still a hotel? Do you know what? I'm not entirely certain. Look up the White Court Hotel on the seafront. He doesn't own it anymore. So I don't know what they've done with it. Llandudno, Mary, is spelled with a double L.
Oh, yeah, it's right there.
Looks like it still is there, yes.
I never went there.
Maybe I'll book it and say...
I'm good. I'm good.
Naturally, I wanted to see it in the DCAU version of Llandudno, but they'd sold out. Huntress in question would probably bought the last tickets. That would happen with the Tim Burton exhibit if it had gone to the DCAU London. Yes, it absolutely would have.
Oh, it does look cute. Okay,
yeah,
where can we go?
Yeah, it's a nice hotel, or it was.
I just thought it would be like that place in Brighton we went to.
No, it's better than that. The rooms are bigger. Anyway, SR Strikers next said, well, I have heard of the Marvel method, and that is why Kirby left, along with a few others like Steve Ditko, because of it, and it made me wonder about that. Did it do more harm than good? I think it's slightly more complex than that. It's not so much about the Marvel method where, Stan Lee would write an outline and they'd go off and draw it, and then Stan would write the dialogue in. The issue was that they didn't really stick to that. It's that people like Jack Kirby, and Ditko said the same thing, would go in, tell Stan what they wanted to talk about. They'd agree on the main plot points between them. They'd go off and draw it, and then in Ditko's case, Stan would change the content to be a bit more politically liberal in many cases. And in Jack Kirby's case, he would take some of the more kind of fantastical, spiritual elements out of it. And then, well, we all know that led to the split up of those creative teams. But anyway, I guess you never watched that 2003 Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles series episode, The King, as it's based around Jack Kirby, and I wondered what would be like if he did Spider-Man. Oh, it's funny you say that. I did watch that episode. I remember it. It was Donatello's became friends with a guy called Kirby, I don't remember an awful lot about it other than he was based on Jack Kirby. And actually, Jack Kirby did do the first take on Spider-Man, but Jack Kirby, his work was rejected by Stan Lee as not being really what he wanted, so he went to Steve Ditko for a second attempt on it. And the rest, as they say, is history. I don't know if you've seen movies like Austin Powers, Team America, and Superbad. Yeah, I've seen all 3 of them. Because I'm about to say about 3 types of people in Team America for the Cadmus arc. And speaking of Superman 3, I was disappointed that they never used any other Superman villains, but instead we got the Man from U.N.C.L.E. and a supercomputer, because I have seen the first draft that would have had Brainiac and Supergirl, which I give a few changes to make it better, because why would an alien want to live in a castle anyway? It's like the Chewbacca defense. So I changed that Supergirl is not a child who crashed on Brainiac's planet, but instead she is a Kryptonian equivalent of an astronaut who crashed on Brainiac's planet and took inspiration from High Evolutionary from Guardians of the Galaxy 3, where he's a megalomaniac who just wants to make the universe in his image, and he sees Supergirl as nothing more than a test subject to give birth to the master race type species. Ooh, that sounds nasty. So she escapes, and finding that Krypton is destroyed, and reluctantly goes to Earth just to hide from him. As he follows and sees that Superman is another survivor, he decides to get them both. As you'd think, Hollywood thinks Superman is Jesus. How about that? Superman and this Supergirl are Adam and Eve, and Brainiac is the serpent. I'm not too keen on the idea of kissing cousins. Let's put it that way. I mean, unless they're not cousins in your outline there. Okay, up next we have Ryan Jones, who says, I do think that Jack Kirby is the original James Gunn in a way, because just like James, he converted from Marvel to DC and then went back to Marvel, or in James Gunn's case, went back to DC and became the DC Kevin Feige. Luke, I know you're not a fan of the New Gods. Well, I mentioned earlier that has changed. I didn't really care for them that much. But the more I've been rereading them and going back to them, I've grown to appreciate it a lot more. But I don't mind them. They are a great example of that. You don't have to be the Joker to represent all that's evil in the universe. By the way, can you do a Calabac video essay, please? He will be in an upcoming Superman poll, I'm certain of it. Darkseid would love EastEnders.
Do you want to know something? I think he would.
It's literally the real-life version of Apocalypse. I could just see Darkseid sitting there. Desaad, tell me the latest in the epic tale of Ricky and Bianca.
I can't do the how do you do it?
Dun, 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 dun. Yeah, I'm really dating myself.
I watched EastEnders for a good 3 months once, and then I missed a week of episodes because we went to Florida with Luke's parents, and I came back and tried to watch an episode of it. I couldn't. It was in shambles. Life was gone. Life as an EastEnder fan was just gone. Mm-hmm. I could not. I had no idea who anybody was. I didn't know what they were doing. Kat was back. Didn't know why she left.
But hey, she was back at least.
Yeah, and by the way, love that character.
The trailer for Pokemon Legends Czar and Pokemon Champions has been released, and I am excited for them. I have been watching the Oscars tonight. My favourite part of the night is when the host Conan O'Brien says, "You're still watching? You have Stockholm Syndrome." Mark Hamill, our Lord and Saviour, was there to present the award for the best sound category.
Yes, our Lord and Saviour, Mark Hamill.
Yeah, well, I see that's now becoming a thing.
Well, it should be, okay?
Yeah. Luke, have you seen the clip of last year's Oscar where Arnold Schwarzenegger and Danny DeVito say that they are presenting the award together because they both tried to kill Batman? It's my favourite part of last year's Oscars. Yes, and there's Michael Keaton sat in the front row doing a hand gesture like, come on. The only thing I don't like about the Oscars is that they treat animation badly by calling it a kid genre. Thankfully this year they didn't. As someone who loves animation, it makes me sad that the Academy treats animation like a kid's genre.
I will say this. We are getting to the point that the people who represent the Oscars and do a lot of the voting and everything, they're coming over because you know what? They're us now. Because a lot of people born around the time we were are now starting to hack into the mainframe, if you will. Be like, hey, Batman animated, get in there. So one day you're just gonna have Batman the animated series, Mask of the Phantasm,
for
winning
best picture.
the best picture. Yeah, best music.
It is not. Go and ask anyone in the animation industry. Fun fact: Mark Hamill was in an episode of Totally Spies. He voiced a character named John Smith. Okay.
You know what? Mark Hamill could be in anything.
He could.
And I think people would still just watch it just because.
He probably has been in pretty much everything.
There was a time in the 90s, wasn't there?
Mm-hmm. All right, next we have Big Mikey P. Michael Andre Parlon back on his regular account.
I was going to ask, which account is it? Hello, Mikey!
Yeah, regular account. So the suspension's over after posting vitriolic death threats in his other comments. I'm joking. Right, okay, and he says, it all starts with laughs, honestly, fittingly wholesome, even if not planned. Careless again, this McFarlane. Mary, if I'd rather you watch Batman Forever instead, not Halle Berry's Catwoman. Heard it has a vintage and slightly more improved novelisation, though, said Catwoman film. Good thumbnail choice. The posing may be extravagant, but it's totally Jack Kirby. Young romance comics. Dudes, there's a bunch of Japanese manga that have similar vibes, and at times have gotten anime adaptations. See Bloom Into You, don't at me, just being a Yuri fan. And Kimagure Orange Road. Face it, Madoka Ayukawa has quite a well-made character design, and as a side, especially with her hair. 1151. A very common occurrence all across America, such renamings, and I don't mind too much. Alas, I am not on Stan Lee's side when it comes to one's views on Kirby. However, I'm free to change my mind in case allegations are revealed more. You never know in this day and age. Granny Goodness is not a name worth laughing, Mary. Same with Ewoks, the ultimate anomalous forest moon native badasses of Star Wars legends. Yes, Speed Racer is Japanese and produced by Tatsunoko Production, who'll do Macross years later. And I did watch it years ago, dubbed. Not my choice, the TV channels were like that.
Same.
Have not seen much of it subbed for some reasons. Oh, and the Wachowskis movie's surprisingly good. Camp done right, that and good old Julia May agreed too. 2517, and he ends up a bit boring in the tunes. The tie-in comics do make Raish and especially Talia more fascinating though. Gotta miss the shrunken city of Kandor element for Brainiac due to its sad absence in the DCAU. And can't forgive Superman for not saving the other orbs in Superman the Animated Series, Series 1, Episode 10, Stolen Memories. Superman the Animated Series started airing on September 6, 1996. Thank you very much. Paired up with the near monthly releases of the Superman Adventures tie-in comics, which have their fair share of Jack Kirby love letter tales. I respect Kirby's takes on democracy and anti-authoritarianism, but even I have my limits. Would rather like to put positive depictions on nations led by military or military-esque councils, like and unlike the SCP-05 Council, and occasional martial law plus global omniversal interventionism. If there's gonna be necessarily conventional World War III, I'd like to see the conscript draft come back. TikTokers and Fortnite players may make for good cannon fodder. Oh dear. I don't know, do I have to continue reading this, Mary? To inevitable meat grinders on Russian tundra and Chinese mountain ranges. Dear oh dear. 40 minutes and 34 seconds, Season 1, Episode 12's Tools of the Trade. Kind of interesting how New Genesis and Apocalypse have proxy wars not unlike NATO's and the Warsaw Pact back in Cold War. Yes, that was very intentional. A gloriously delivered bittersweet martyrdom and later Jewish funeral, Dan Turpin's. Would like to make a similar character in Fate, but a Muslim or Shinto one day for variety. Got to surprisingly thank HBO Max for restoring the OG credits of the Apocalypse Now two-parter. Wise decision not bringing Turpin back from life or revealing some harsh apocalyptic captivity. Unwise decision not mentioning and commemorating him lots come the Justice League and Justice League Unlimited and Batman Beyond eras. At least fan works like Legacies of the DCAU got a peace treaty named after the good SCU man. Yes, I bet that was Ted that came up with that. If it wasn't, I apologise. If only later Darkseid actors and voice actors emulated Michael Ironside's performance more. I don't see the chemistry for Bruce and Harley. There's a Smurfs 2025? I doubt the upcoming MCU Fantastic Four film will turn the public opinion tide for the eponymous team. We've already watched the best Fantastic Four movie years ago, and it's called The Incredibles. Ouch. I don't know, Veronica and Harley has some good ring to it. Adaptionists prepare experimenting on this ship. One can argue that the Killing Joke movie should have adapted the Batgirl Special No. 1 comic instead. An hour, 2 minutes and 39 seconds, time stamping. An hour, 2 minutes and 49 seconds. Multi-genre reading is a surprising charm, and also just finished The Railway Children and will continue funnily to Star Wars Legends of the Crystal Star. Still sad what happened to Disney's Peter Pan voice actor, though. I don't know what happened to Disney's Peter Pan voice actor. And now that you've said it's sad, I don't know if I want to. Mary's Googling it already, but I'm going to continue with the comment. I still prefer martyring DCAU Vixen. Don't hear her become President of the United States in the DCU timeline, after all. Can confirm A Bug's Life is greater than Ants. 1 hour, 11 minutes and 39 seconds. Time to look for the episode title then. 1 hour, 12 and 2 seconds. Appreciate the hint.
Oh,
go on then, Mary. What happened?
drugs.
Oh, did he?
If we're talking about Driscoll.
Yes, probably.
Yeah.
Bobby Driscoll. Was that his name? Oh, dear.
Oh.
A pre-Justice League tale about Batman working on a case with newcomer Hawkgirl would be very neat. Besides, the DCAU can still continue via comics, scripts, short films, and more that untie loose ends and world build way more things. Just don't do a BTAC for HBO Max. Family Guy and quadcopter drones shouldn't be a thing in the DCAU 1990s BTAS TNBA to STAS, with the early Static Shock episodes to early 2000s later Static Shock episodes in Justice League and Justice League Unlimited to 2039 to 2042 plus 2057. Batman Beyond plus Epilogue. The DCAU design Lex Luthor should not have been voiced by Powers Booth in Brainiac Attacks. Feels so wrong. Yes, I agree. As much as I like Powers Booth's voice, particularly, and his performance as Gorilla Grodd, his Lex Luthor was kind of strange. Maybe it felt strange just because it was coming out of Clancy Brown's Lex Luthor's body. Gene Hackman gone too. How did I not hear of this till this podcast? Big Mikey P, I'm starting to think you live under a rock, considering that Gene Hackman's death was like headline news everywhere, particularly because of the nature of his death.
And now is time for the quiz on what has been in the news in this podcast. The Gene Hackman death has been really heartbreaking, but in a way, it's quite the love story.
Potentially, yeah. We'll never know for sure.
I do.
Okay, on to the next comment. Lower Lucas Jr., who says, "Hey, today it's totally Schway. We're talking King Kirby on a mighty Sunday. Galactic Dark Monolith's here to stay. Why question anything? Why the why? For I am Darkseid. Hey everyone, and thank you again for the great coverage, and to my fellow commenters, well wishes. I'm getting worried about how my eyes are coming, so please keep me in prayers. I've had too many panics and have restricted certain tasks, including drawing and driving, so please keep well in spirit." Oh, no, I'm heartbroken about the Todd father in DC. May his future toy children be masculine one, and his toy rivals get a detailed toy head in the bed. That's a good Godfather reference, I like it. They messed with the best of the best, in my opinion, anyway. Also, fun note, Ruby Spears was a sister company to Hanna-Barbera and took on some other animation duties like Turbo Teen, but some of my favourites like Heathcliff, Thundar the Barbarian, and even Mega Man, the fighting robot Mega Man. Now on to Jack Kirby's influence onto comic animation media. Oh man, where do I begin? Luke, we're going to have to bust out our Modern Masters Bruce Timm edition, so here goes. Jack would have the most dramatic and awesome posing with character hands covering half the pages over a reaction. Many of Ty Templeton and Bruce Timm's storyboards and illustrations would adapt these poses in their works. Bruce adapted Jack's burlier, muscular bodies that had strong sketch lines that indicated a rough, squarish body. And even on a detail point, Bruce Timm and fellow artists included the dotted ink technique used in Jack's universe, and little tiny bits at the end of Monster's fingernails and square toe bits as seen on Etrigan. I also want to thank Jack Kirby, as he and other brave soldiers, including my grandfather, fought overseas to help make a life better for everyone when the country caught in the turmoil of war. Whether they be Jewish, African American, Native American, etc., they wanted to fight for a better America, though it's sad that they were met with hardships when coming back. However, I'll never forget how they fought for justice on enemy lines and respect them immensely. Sergeant Rock, here we go. Lastly, Alex Ross may not be the Bob Ross of paintings, but he's certainly the Norman Rockwell of comics. Yeah, okay, that's a good one. To you all, fare thee well, and thank you once again. Hope you all have a great day, and hopefully have a dramatic post shocked with some fantastic news. Also, yes, Mary, I still call pancakes flapjacks and even hot cakes.
Oh my goodness, hot cakes. Hot cakes. I remember there was a restaurant. It was called the Espresso Shop in Town Plaza, the old Town Plaza in Midwest City, and my grandma went there every day. And whenever I would go there, I would have biscuits and gravy when I still ate pork. And you would always hear the same person, because it was owned by it was like kind of like a mom and pop thing, but more of a pop thing. You would hear him say, "Hotcakes!" And I swear, every single time, you would have some like 80-year-old man saying, "I see him too."
Yeah.
And it was just so funny.
Yeah.
I just didn't.
He goes, "Hotcakes, yeah, and the pancakes are ready too." Yeah. Good,
but he would say, "I see him too." I wish I would have actually seen who it was saying it, but it was always the same guy. And I'm like, "Is it the owner?" And my grandma was like, "No, give me my coffee." And that's another part that's in the news. Bonus question.
All right, on to the next comment, which is from A1ML33Y, Julia Raoul, who says, "Hello, True Believer, Halle Berry, Catwoman, Mary, and Bad Back Luke. It's me, mighty Marvelite Julia. And let me tell you, Mean Mary and Luke, why I love and adore Jack Kirby. I mostly got into his work by way of reading reprints of Silver Age Avengers I got into after watching the 2012 movie. His Captain America run in the 70s, I love the art of his 70s era, and his Thor, another I got into after watching the movies. I just love how weird and out there those issues are. The art and storytelling is what drew me in. The Marvel era of Kirby hit so differently to me as a Marvel fan first. But the series that stuck with me the most is Kirby's art on Fantastic Four, and I love all the characters that came out with, like Uatu the Watcher, Silver Surfer, Agatha Harkness, to name a few. And I love his work on X-Men with Stan Lee, stuff like Wanda Maximoff, Magneto. Those yellow and blue X-Men uniforms, I really like those. They tell you how far the X-Men like Cyclops, Jean Grey and Beast have come from that first issue. X-Men Legends 2, I usually put Scott, Jean and Bobby in those costumes paired with Xavier or Magneto. But I am off on a tangent, lol. I just love Marvel too much. Forgive me, I forgot this was a DCAU podcast. I like how the DCAU was influenced by Kirby artistically and narratively. The reason why I still love Superman the Animated Series so much is because of Kirby tech and Kirby looking buildings. As a kid, I had no idea that at the time Kirby even worked on Superman. As a teen in the 2000s getting into DC, I did my research, mostly from the characters I liked, that he created for DC, starting with Etrigan the Demon, working down to guys like Guardian, DC's version of Kirby Captain America, but blue and yellow, and working for Cadmus with clones of the Newsboy Legion. I feel like a lot of reasons why I read and enjoyed so much 90s Superman comics from the Triangle era for all the Kirby influences, including my favourite clone Superboy being created by Cadmus when Superman died in 93 after the death of Superman. Oh, I need to pause for a breath then. I read those solo Superboy comics too. They were so Kirby. Shame they couldn't get cloned Superboy and Guardian into the DCAU, if only Estes had another season. I admire what Kirby stood for, and between him and Stan Lee I like them both, but I feel like Kirby helped craft the look of Marvel 616, and I love it. While with DC, Kirby made some characters I like most of all, Dan Turpin, who fought Calibac. I still think that's awesome from the comics. Etrigan, for how fun he and Jason could be. Most of the new gods, they reminded me of Thor and Asgard. Yeah, that was very intentional. But I do like how Michael Ironside played Darkseid in Estas and Justice League Unlimited. That's how I read the character whenever I read the comics up to Final Crisis, and that one time Santa Claus delivered Darkseid coal for Christmas, lol, in a DC Xmas special comic. I think Ty Templeton did that story. I could be wrong though. A story by Evan Dorkin, I believe. Oh no, it was Evan Dorkin. Whoops, my mistake. Anyways, Kirby stuff forever lives rent-free in my head and heart. Oh, by the way, True Believer, I have a question. Have you seen my new Marvel vs. Capcom video I have been posting lately? I've been trying to hit so many combos lately. Do you know what? I haven't seen that, but I will watch it after this.
You've been really busy lately.
Oh, I'm so busy. I very rarely do this. I actually had to take a nap in the middle of the day today because I'm so run down and tired, and I've still got so much ahead of me. But anyway.
All of those emergency room workers and all of that have to do 12-hour shifts and everything.
Yeah, I mean, I've essentially got 2 full-time jobs, so, you know. Anyway, also, Luke, have you heard the Warner Brothers game Smash Brothers rip-off Multiverse died because of all the microtransactions and bungling by Warner Brothers? Knuckleheads running it into the ground, just like Suicide Squad being a live service game. Anyway, I hope I didn't make Luke mad at me for this long-ass comment, but those are my thoughts and feelings, true believers, Excelsior. I am saddened that Multiverse is ending because it was one of the last performances of Kevin Conroy, and there are a bunch of lines of dialogue he recorded that will never be released. For instance, he recorded lines as Bruce Wayne's skin, and his Bruce Wayne voice sounded very much like, almost like Clark Kent. When you may not be aware of this, but when Batman Adventures Continue first issue came out, Kevin Conroy did a live reading on Instagram, and that included him playing him playing Clark Kent. And he talked like this: golly, gosh, gee willikers, etc. He's like really having fun with it.
Gee golly.
Yeah. If you've never seen that before, look it up on Kevin's Instagram account. It's really good. But yeah, no worries about the long comment. I mean, you're not the only one writing long comments. Seems like everyone's writing novels these days. I'm going to write you a long comment next please time. Don't.
I'm going to be like, dearest Luke, also known as husband, what's up?
Next comment, we have David Carney, who is brief and to the point, and I like this. He says, "Hi, Luke and Mary. Hope you both had a great week. Listening to you both while watching Manchester United versus Fulham. My boss supports Manchester United, and he's always depressed about their performance. So did they win or did they lose?
Who are the ones with the blue?
Could be Manchester City, could be Tottenham.
Blue.
Okay. Superman the Animated Series is a love letter to Jack Kirby. It's like the characters were taken straight out of the comics. Long live the king. R.I.P. Gene Hackman and Michelle Trachtenberg."
Oh yeah.
Yes.
So many.
Next we have Harry Flew TV, who says, "I once knew a guy in school called Jack Kirby. Lol, I used to call him Millhouse because of his bulbous nose, dark hair and glasses. That is not a nice thing to say about the king of comics, even though you must be in your, over 100 years old now if you went to school with him. Unbelievable. It was all in fun though, and he called me Bart because of my spiky blonde hair and my rebellious attitude. Also, I legitimately thought the Halle Berry Catwoman movie was just a weird fever dream I had, like that Scooby-Doo spin-off prequel about Daphne and Velma. 1 hour, 3 minutes and 13 seconds. Peter Pan is also my favourite Disney movie next to Beauty and the Beast. To Mary, what are your thoughts on the Peter Pan horror movie in the Twisted Childhood universe, aka the Pooniverse? Peter Pan's Neverland Nightmare. I haven't seen the film, but I'm super excited to see it when it comes out in the UK where we are. I also think it makes sense because the original Peter Pan story by J.M. Barrie is already a pretty dark and messed up story."
In the what verse?
It's like horror movies based on...
Oh, it's kind of like the Pooh Bear thing when the rights,
yeah, they did the horror Winnie the Pooh movie.
I don't know. It could be good actually because anyone who's read Peter Pan kind of, in my eyes, I never saw it as I love the Disney movie. It is probably one of my favorite Disney movies, if not my favorite. But the actual Peter Pan story isn't. I never saw it as like a great happy ending type thing because But yeah, that could be a good horror movie actually. So yeah, I didn't know. I had no idea that was going to be a thing.
If you want to Google it, Mary, let me just bring up the name again. It's called Peter Pan horror movie in the Twisted Childhood universe. It doesn't actually say the name. If you type Peter Pan horror movie, then that should come up. And then you can consider it while I move on to Doc Widener's comment.
Doc! We love Doc.
Oh, Peter Pan's Neverland Nightmare. I think he did say that, actually. Anyway, Doc Widener's comment. He says, "Thank goodness you're here, not getting to this until Monday night." Ugh. It looks like another comment went AWOL. Put as a comment to this one, especially since the stuff in there I want Mary to see, but don't know that it needs to be read. And vanished again. Sending instead. Very weird. 2 thoughts on your back pain. I can do both of those without going to someone, though it might be beneficial to find someone that does them to teach you the techniques. I use both of these after weekends like this one where I spend the better part of 2 days officiating swimming, or when I forget I am in my 50s and overdo it with cleaning the fencing or something else. Strain counter-strain therapy and trigger point therapy. I prefer the latter most of the time, but SCS is more effective for back issues for me. Ruby Spears did Thundar, which I either mentioned in my last Totally Schway or Totally Schway Flipside comment when I was saying that there were good 80s cartoons. Dragon's Lair, which was the first Laserdisc game. Luke probably knows all this. Originally in arcades before ported to PCs and Macs, as well as some consoles over the years. Some ports were way better than others. It stood out visually since it was animated by Don Bluth. The gameplay never was a favourite of mine. The cartoon was okay. Do you know, you just reminded me there that one of my lecturers at university worked at Don Bluth Animation. I should probably bring that up because I've connected with some people that did... I nearly said did time at Don Bluth. That's not quite what I meant. Maybe they know him. Anyway, the movement in a picture of a punch is striking, you say? Luke, too nice or clever to make the pun. I thought I had made the pun. Maybe too subtle. And then I veer into the serious. The US has selective service, so young men have to sign up so the government knows about them and that you acknowledge if they do institute a draft, you are signed up. If you don't, there are fines and imprisonment.
Yep.
You also need to do it to be eligible to apply for state-funded student financial aid and employment in many states. Most federal employment, job training under the Workforce Innovation and Opportunities Act and US citizenship for immigrant men. But not having a draft has the opposite effect of what I thought Mary was trying to say. Having an all-volunteer military means it's easier to send them wherever, because not as many families are impacted or might be impacted. I put volunteer in quotes because for a lot of not well-off young folks in the military, it's a way to have regular employment, and it does offer a way to pay for college.
That's honestly, growing up, I grew up in a military town, and I was raised by someone who was in the military and was in Germany for a while, in peacetime Germany, I should say. And that was what my brother and I, for a while, thought that we were going to do. And it was it was not the easiest thing to do, but it was thought to be one of the, I guess, heroic things. And then obviously 9/11 happened, and then you think that you're going to be able to do it, and actually, both of us would not, well, my brother would not have been allowed because of a few things, but for me, I would not be allowed there's 3 reasons. I'm not going to say what they are, but that kind of puts it all in a little bit of a, oh crap, what are we going to do now? So I just left the country. So yeah, that's a little bit of around the time of where I grew up and where I grew up. That's kind of what we thought we were going to do, because it was a job that you would have for a long time, and then at the Air Force Base, you would be able to get a job there, hopefully, and then die.
So to continue Doc's comment, it says, there are lots of folks who got out of high school and the military people provided them some structure, discipline, etc. And many do serve for all the right reasons. Unfortunately, the folks that send them often don't do it for the right reasons.
That's right.
I'm particularly fired up about this because of a comment I heard Mike Johnson, Speaker of the House, make about Ukraine. He complained that Zelensky had turned down the mineral rights deal. He said the deal would have given the US economic interests there, and everyone knows the US defends its interests. At least he's being honest about the protection racket they want to run. And to turn on a dime again, Mary, this is why you need a gay son who fits the well-put-together, fashion-conscious stereotype. The missus has completely given up on me. She just asks him. Though she asks what I thought about something on Friday when we were headed somewhere, and I said she looked fine. I thought the colours went well together. About 15 minutes later, as we were walking in, I noticed the jacket was inside out. At least I noticed before we got inside and anyone else saw her. A few diners I went to as a kid called them flapjacks, but I don't see that name around anymore.
I would love a gay son. I would love a troupe of gay sons. If anyone out there is gay and they need a mother, I'm here. I could be a mom to you, as long as I don't lose my lovely, beautiful model-like figure.
She says, knocking over her drinks. That wasn't me, dropping anything in disgust. I don't even know if the mic picked that sound up.
It's my Diet 7-Up.
Sergei's boyfriend is about an inch taller and a bit heavier than me. He has the same birthday, although albeit different year, thankfully. He likes to stop shows to look up voice actors. I could go on. But almost everyone says he is dating a version of his dad. Well, isn't that?
Well, if that's the truth, then it's good. Because we like you. We think you're cool. So you must think he's really cool, too.
Right, next we have Michael Dolan, who has written possibly the world's longest comment, but I'm going to give it my best possible shot to get through this without my voice breaking. Who says, "Ahoy, Luke and Mary. I had a lot to say about your DCAU ships episode, so much so that I missed the deadline for the comment to be included in the episode. If it's permissible, I've just worked them into this episode's comment. No, I'm sorry, that's not possible. We're moving on. I kid. I feel that a lot of vocal minorities' displeasure at Cape Crusader's female penguin, as well as the most cases of race or gender swapping or the inclusion of current comics and sci-fi media, is coming from a place of spoiled man-children throwing tantrums about how these are my toys and I won't share them with those icky girls and brown people. I shudder at the concept of being such a cowardly weakling that the very existence of a version of something I loved as a 6-year-old being made differently for today's 6-year-olds could feel like a threat to me. Here. They really seem to feel that because they've spent their whole lives obsessing over nerd media instead of developing social skills, that grants them some sort of ownership over it. And the funny thing as well is, particularly when it comes to Batman characters, is, you know, they claim that you can never alter these characters. They've got to stay exactly true to the source material. But they've always changed. They're always adapted. Look at bloody Tim Burton's Penguin. He made him a mutant sewer-dwelling freak, you know? And we're talking about race swaps. Eartha Kitt was Catwoman in the 60s.
Oh, one of my favourites.
Billy D. Williams was Harvey Dent in the 80s. What are they talking about?
A lot of people forget that Billy D. Williams was Harvey.
Well, yes.
I did for a while. And then every time you say it, I'm like, yeah!
Yes, that's right. And of course, Jeffrey Wright was Commissioner Gordon in the Batman movie recently. So I don't know why anyone would go, oh, why is Commissioner Gordon African American now?
If anybody says anything about that to me, about they use that phrase race swapping, oh, get over yourself. Like, it is 2025. Okay, get over yourself. If you like something, okay, wonderful. You can still continue to like the character that you like. This is just a different version of it. This is just a version for somebody else. Can we not just, like, live life and just enjoy these little things? Because we can enjoy every version of that character for different reasons.
Yep.
I love Lady Penguin.
So I'm going to continue the comment.
Sorry,
that's fine.
perch.
I mean, to be fair, I started going off on a rant about it, but anyway. Look at Ian Levine with Doctor Who in the mid-1980s, installing himself as official fan spokesman, believing that because he knew more about the history of the show than the producers, that he obviously cared more about the show than they did. So he had more right than they did to determine the show's future, and sadly all he wanted to do with that was get pedantic over canon and force scriptwriters to address continuity errors from 6 production teams ago. It's such a small mindset, treating any deviation from the trivia they've spent their lives memorising as some sort of hostile personal attack on their very identity. Yeah, very well said. Mm-hmm. I don't think Lois knows Clark's secret. I do believe that she knows in her gut, but as a journalist she simply doesn't have enough proof to confirm it. Certainly not enough proof to go to print with it, but I doubt that she'd ruin Clark's life like that, not even for the story of the millennium. I absolutely adore the DCAU question, mostly because of Jeffrey Combs' performance. Thank you for mentioning Jeffrey Combs' name, because it was escaping me at the time of the recording. I could not recall for the life of me.
You're usually really good at that.
Oh, yeah, I know. He was also Scarecrow in the new Batman Adventures. There's me with my memorising trivia.
I can't remember anything of what happened yesterday. Mm-hmm. But you give me, like, the lyrics to Guys and Dolls. And I'm like, your eyes are the eyes.
His portrayal of the question as a sort of masked Fox Mulder, a paranoid conspiracy chaser who stayed mad but northwest, Just enough of a nutter to be charming. And can I just say that I miss the 1990s when conspiracy theories were harmless fun about UFO cover-ups and Cold War era mad science, and not another excuse for rock-chewingly stupid bigots to blame all their disappointment and failures on the Jews. Anyway, I went back after JLU and read the 1980s Question comic by Denny O'Neil and Dennis Cohen, his first solo series after DC acquired the character from Charlton, and I was sorely disappointed. Their Zen philosopher version of the character didn't hit for me, and from what I hear, the the original Steve Ditko version from the 60s is a bit too Randian to be likeable. Yes, I bought the first appearance of the Question, gave it a read, and was like, oh god, oh this is tough. It was so long ago that I can't really recall who said it, but I remember once reading a very highbrow academic professor type saying that what seems to separate most science fiction and fantasy fans from consumers of non-genre media is their active willingness, even deep need, to engage with the subject at a level beyond the as-written text. Shipping is just one of the forms this takes, along with fan fiction in general, fan art, cosplay, mashup and crossovers, you name it. In a lot of these cases, the fans use their subject of their fandom as a springboard for their own creativity, like taking a Lego set and using the pieces to build something that may not look exactly like the picture on the box, but is more to their personal preferences. I'm not saying that this behaviour is exclusive to fans, but if there's anybody writing alternate universe fanfic about Great Expectations, where Miss Havisham's fiancé didn't abandon her at the altar, and they go on to run a chain of coffee shops across the home counties, I'm not aware of it. I've never been much for ships in this sense, but I'll admit to having a fondness for some character interactions. For example, I love the bit at the end of the final episode of JLU when Giganta gives Flash a quick kiss before taking advantage of the head start she's been given. It's a testament to animators' skills that we can watch the roller coaster of thoughts play wordlessly over Flash's face. Whoa, she's hot and she likes me, but she's a bad guy, and she used to be a gorilla. And is that worse than her being a bad guy? If anything, I'm fascinated by the way that the DCAU makes us see the villains as human beings with human problems and human needs. Before the episode Harley and Ivy, it would never have occurred to me that Poison Ivy has to go home at the end of the day and cook dinner, or that the Joker wakes up in the morning and has trouble finding matching socks. It's normally something you see more among the Flash rogues or in Marvel's superior foes of Spider-Man. But as we see in Almost Got Him and hinted at by its absence in Birds of a Feather, there's something fascinating about how these twisted, broken people interact when they're not actively being supercriminals, getting together for weekly card games or holding release day parties, filling their emotional needs for social interactions with one another because, let's face it, nobody else is willing to be around them. If Big Mikey P doesn't want pancakes, I'll gladly have his. I think we established that Big Mikey P does love pancakes. I was defaming him.
I can only have pancakes now that are from almond flour. Thank you, diabetes type 1.
They're nice still, though.
They're really nice. I'm going to try quinoa flour tomorrow. Or, no, I'm not going to do it tonight.
I want to agree with Big Mikey P on fighting hate with bigger hate, but sadly a lot of people are only still alive today because I refuse to use a toilet prison. Excuse me, a prison toilet. No, sorry, I got the words around the wrong way. I certainly sympathise, though. My late brother, Zach Dolan, was a comic book creator with his own company, Unlikely Hero Studios, UHS for short. Before he passed, he was planning to do a series called The Devil's Brigade about a supernatural allied special mission squad in World War II. His final published comics work was a brief plot for the series Dog Tags, appearing in Volume 1 of UHS's annual anthology Elsewhere. In it, an American soldier being interrogated in a Nazi installation waits for the German colonel to arrive before revealing that he's a werewolf and spends the next 8 pages ripping fascist filth asunder into unrecognisable goblets of bloody flesh. Zach told me that he consulted anatomy textbooks to find out exactly what would come spilling out of the human body when it's torn in half like a werewolf does to a stormtrooper in one gorgeous panel. Emphasis on the gore there. If you can post a link to your Serum Lakes viewers group on Facebook, I'll gladly join and send you the pages. Yes, please do. Yes. I see you did join. I approved your membership. But still, as Buddha once said, hate is like picking up a hot coal out of a roaring fire to throw it at someone. You're the one who gets burned the worst.
Truth.
Yeah. Well, actually, it was Buddha's biographer, not the Buddha, who said that. And he didn't compare hate to picking up hot coals. This is firmly shown that I won't mention the original metaphor. Instead, I'm going to suggest an idea from Doctor Who given form at various times by the 7th, 8th and 10th Doctors. I'm not scared of monsters, I'm what the monsters have nightmares about, and indeed it feels like a very Batmanish approach. Give the monsters nightmares of their own, and in this instance, be what they fear the most, be someone they can't intimidate, be someone they can't control. More on this later. Seven Samurai was a Japanese 1954 film by acclaimed director Akira Kurosawa. It's the story of a defenseless farming village victimized by a gang of murderous bandits and the motley crew of seven swordsmen recruited to protect it. The film was remade as a western, The Magnificent Seven, by director John Sturges in 1960, and then again as a science fiction version in the 1980s, Roger Corman's Battle Beyond the Stars. I'm not sure that it would have inspired Bruce to become Batman, but he'd certainly appreciate its "the strong have a duty to defend the weak" message. I haven't seen much of Copperhead in the comics. From what I understand, his powers come from a high-tech costume, but I have no idea how the suit can make his bones flexible enough to slither through spaces narrower than his skull, or wrap himself around his opponent like a boa constrictor. Your idea that he's using Dr. Cuvier's proto-splicer tech makes much more sense. My pet theory on Lois Lane's enormous bed is that in an unseen story, Lois was attacked in her apartment by some villain with size-altering technology. A shrink ray was misfired while jammed in reverse and hit Lois's bed, thus rendering it ridiculously embiggened.
I need one of those things.
Could you do that to our whole apartment, please? While the baddie was dealt with, the machine was smashed, and now the bed is stuck at this size. Lois decided to deal with it and leave it as it is rather than try to figure out how to get it through the front door, let alone the elevator to replace it. Dean Cain is indeed trash. In addition to being a loyal acolyte of the spray-tanned con man, he recently defended Lone Scum, rearranged the letters, oh, yes, for making Nazi salutes. His exact quote, "Don't spread that lie."
Who is he talking about?
The guy who drives the swastikas.
No. I'm the first person.
Dean Cain.
Who?
Oh, I see.
I don't know who the hell you're talking about.
And since 2018, he's been on the board of National Rifle Association, making him responsible for 142 deaths and 397 injuries of American school children as he works to prioritise the profits of gun manufacturers over children's safety.
And that is the main reason I don't know who this man is, and he will always be a who to me.
He's coming to a comic convention here in New Jersey in April, and I recently cut off two people I'd known for years and cast them aside like gangrenous pinky toes over the matter, one for hosting said convention and the other for rushing in to call me the bad guy for bringing politics into this. Like the old punk rockers used to say, if a bar lets Nazis in, then it's a Nazi bar.
Truth.
Well said.
The thing about Dean Cain is he... Sorry, who? I only said the name because you said the name. The only thing about this guy is he should know better. He was in a career and in movies and TV shows that actually talked about violence that these weapons can do. Yet he stands up and says that he is proud to be a member of that group. And it sucks. It really sucks because that group does not care that since I was a child, there have been thousands of schools that have had beautiful children and beautiful teachers be perished. And it sucks that he can stand there and spew the words that he spews about being proud to be in that group. Well, you know what I say to you, Mr. I'm not going to say your name because it'll only just give you, like, whatever. Screw you.
I don't know how to pronounce Kuiper either, but I do suspect that two of the dwarf planets in the asteroid belt named for that Dutch astronomer have Hawaiian names and should probably be pronounced Haumea and Makei. To quote Robin Williams in The Bicentennial Man, one is glad to be of service for providing the quotes to help Mary deal with those who no longer exist in her universe. To help you both, and whoever among your audience needs to hear them, are some to help provide inspiration in these intensely distressing times. No dictator, no invader can hold an imprisoned population by force of arms forever. There is no greater power in the universe than the need for freedom. Against that power, governments and tyrants and armies cannot stand. The Centauri learned this lesson once. We will teach it to them again. Though it take 1,000 years, we will be free. Jakar, Babylon 5, The Long Twilight Struggle. Jaquan wrote, "There is a greater darkness than the one we fight. It is the darkness of the soul that has lost its way. The war we fight is not against powers and principalities, it is against chaos and despair. Greater than the death of flesh, is the death of hope, the death of dreams. Against the peril we can never surrender." Jakar, Babylon 5, Zahadum. "You can't save them all. I'll try. You'll fail. We'll see." Lorien and John Sheridan, Babylon 5, falling towards apotheosis. There we go. Lots of Babylon 5 quotes coming up. "You can fight, you can refuse to surrender, refuse to be broken. All you have to do is be able to say, 'No, I won't,' one more time. Just one more time, then they can say, 'Yes, you will.'" Sheridan, Babylon 5, intersections in real time. "You don't just give up. You don't just let things happen. You make a stand. You say, 'No!' You have the guts to do what's right when everyone else just runs away." Rose Tyler, Doctor Who, The Parting of the Ways. "No, we don't walk away. But when we're holding on to something precious, we run. We run and run fast as we can. And we don't stop running until we're out from under the shadow." The 11th Doctor Who, The Rings of Akhenaten. "Hey, I'm going to be dead in a few hours, so before I go, let's have this out, you and me, once and for all. Winning, is that what you think it's about? I'm not trying to win. I'm not doing this because I want to beat someone, or because I hate someone, or because I want to blame someone. It's not because it's fun, and God knows it's not easy. It's not even because it works, because it hardly ever does. I do what I do because it's right, because it's decent, and above all, it's kind. It's just that, just kind. If I run away today, good people will die. If I stand and fight, some of them might live. Maybe not many, maybe not for long. But hey, maybe there's no point in any of this at all. But it's the best I can do, so I'm going to do it. And I will stand here doing it until it kills me. You're going to die too someday. How will that be? Have you thought about it? What would you die for? Who I am is where I stand. Where I stand is where I fall. Stand with me. These people are terrified. Maybe we can help a little. Why not? Just at the end, just be kind." The 12th Doctor, Doctor Who, The Doctor Falls.
I was about to say, I've heard that before.
Yes. "How long we hang on, how far we get, how many of us make it out, all of that is now up to us. Wherever you are right now, get up, stop the work, get out of your cells, take charge and start climbing. They don't have enough guards and they know it. If we wait until they figure that out, it'll be too late. We will never have a better chance than this, and I would rather die trying to take them down than die giving them what they want. There is one way out. Right now, the building is ours. You need to run, climb, kill. You need to help each other. You see someone who's confused, someone who is lost, you get them moving, and you keep them moving until we put this place behind us. There are 5,000 of us. If we can fight half as hard as we've been working, we will be home in no time. One way out, 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 one way out. Kino Lois, Star Wars, and/or One Way Out. There will be times when the struggle seems impossible. I know this already. Alone, unsure, dwarfed by the scale of the enemy. Remember this. Freedom is a pure idea. It occurs spontaneously and without instruction. Random acts of insurrection are occurring constantly throughout the galaxy. There are whole armies, battalions that have no idea that they've already enlisted in the cause. Remember that the frontier of the rebellion is everywhere, and even in the smallest act of insurrection pushes our line forward. And then remember this, the imperial need for control is so desperate because it is so unnatural. Tyranny requires constant effort. It breaks, it leaks. Authority is brittle. Oppression is the mask of fear. Remember that, and know this. The day will come when all these skirmishes and battles, these moments of defiance, will have flooded the banks of the Empire's authority. And then there will be one too many. One single thing will break the siege. Remember this. Try. Karis Nemec, Star Wars, and/or Rick's Road. Oh, and the Javelin 7 is nifty, but my favourite DCAU ship is the Thanagarian vessel that brought Qatar and Shayera Hol to ancient Egypt. Kind of a cross between Space Ghost's old Phantom Cruiser of the 1960s and Goa Uld's fighters from Stargate SG-1 and something out of the Pharaoh's jewellery box. Thoughts on this episode begin here. Whew, okay, here we go. The Halle Berry Catwoman movie, that film that challenges you. In the spirit of Joel Hodgson of Mystery Science Theater 3000, I tried to say at least one nice thing about a movie, so here goes. The musical score of Klaus Badelt is pretty good. He reused some of the theme in his computer-animated Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles movie, but I prefer the version here. I suspect that the Jack Kirby work at Ruby Spears that you can't think of at the time of recording is Thundar the Barbarian. Yes, that was exactly it. Jack did the vast majority, if not all, of the character designs, and many of the villainous wizards who rule post-apocalyptic Earth with Arthur C. Clarke's sufficiently advanced technology that is indistinguishable from magic. Looks like they walked straight out of the Fourth World, or at least have the same tailor as the new gods. Jack Kirby famously said, "The only politics I ever knew was that if a guy liked Hitler, I would beat the stuffing out of him, and that would be the end of it." A lot of fascist sympathisers used to crank call the timely officers in protest of the publishing of Captain America, often making death threats. One day Kirby answered the phone and recognised that they were calling from the lobby. Jack told them, "Wait there, I'll be right down," and went downstairs to give him a piece of his mind. The crank calls stopped after that. My current Facebook profile picture is a piece by my late brother Zach. Captain America stands on the steps of a synagogue, ripping a Nazi flag in half as he glowers down with contempt at the gang of concussed neo-Nazis. Behind him are the commissioning client and their family, but standing shoulder to shoulder with Cap are none other than Stanley Lieber and Jacob Kurtzberg, rolling up their sleeves to do some good old-fashioned clobbering. You know, I've never thought of Stanley as someone that would do some clobbering. Jack Kirby, I could see it.
Sorry.
Jack Kirby was like a pit bull. Anyway, Kirby was never one of my favourite comics artists. Like Luke, I agree that he feels like he just cycled through the same three faces sometimes. And as a lover of sci-fi gadgets, his style of almost abstract super science technology left me cold. Still, I must give him credit for his innovation. Old comics often look like they were drawn from a stage play starring stiffly posed action figures. As Scott Kurtz, creator of the webcomic PvP, related in an exchange with a young boy he met while walking his dog, "What's his name? Kirby? Like the Nintendo character? No. Do you know who Jack Kirby was? No. Well, have you ever read a Fantastic Four comic and seen the way the thing punches out of the page straight at you? Yeah? Jack Kirby invented that. Cool. I must also acknowledge his other great stylistic innovation which bears his name, his use of swirling swarms of black spot backlit with day-glow colours to represent manifestations of phenomenal cosmic power, commonly known as Kirby Crackle. I heard some people from the Jack Kirby Museum refer to it as Kirby Dots. But Kirby Crackle sounds much better. It's the alliteration, isn't it? I can't believe that I made it to 53 years old before figuring out that Doctor Strange's gloves aren't leopard pattern. They're made of constantly shifting Kirby Crackle. I'll try to be more concise next time, and my apologies to Luke's larynx.
I found the quote I was looking for.
Yes, please
I have a quote. I know it's not like Star Wars or Star Trek or anything. It's a very short quote. I love Charles Bukowski. And there's two quotes that are my absolute favorites, and this one is one of them. This is my second favorite. I can't actually say my first one, which is "Good night, sweet mother." Bleepers. And this one is what matters the most is how you walk through the fire. And I think a lot of the quotes that you have put out there have kind of said the same thing. It's not, it's literally how we handle these situations. And I think there for a while, and even in times that are to come, it is going to be very up in the air and we are not going to know what the hell is going on. But I think a lot of people, especially with like the thing going on with the stock and all of that, they're standing up with what they know they can, and that's money. And that is how they are walking through the fire, and that's how they are showing that they are sticking together and everything like that. So millennials unite. Walk through the fire and spend your money on Toyota. Well, I don't know a lot of cars. I only know I know Tesla because it's in the news. I know Volkswagen, and I know Toyota and Porsche. But I only know Porsche because of James Dean, not because I don't drive a Porsche.
But yes, thank you for your comment, Michael. It was very long, but it was very important, so I decided that yes, we would read the whole thing. I now have to move on to the most serious comment of all, though. Screen Wiper's chicken update.
Yes! Oh, please tell me it's a good update.
I haven't read it. I've just seen that it came in very last minute, but we were able to squeeze it in.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, here we go.
Oh, that's another one of my favorites.
The bleeps, there I feel better. Goddamn human race, there I feel better.
Charles Bukowski.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so Screen Wiper says, I've come back with chicken news, hopefully not too late to be read for the episode.
Never.
Yeah, we just about got it in.
Never.
Wilma and Betty both show signs of potentially having early stages of cancer, but it could also be nothing. I hope it's all nothing. They're 3 years and 1 month old now. The ex-commercial hens do tend to get sick and die at 3, but I calculated the hen's average lifespan under my care the other day, and it averages 4 years and 3 months. So hopefully everyone will still be here at the start of summer 2026. But there is a chance that Wilma and Betty won't make it through the summer. Be prepared for that sad possibility. I guess ex-commercial hens, disease and death are always a bit of bad luck anyway. Wilma still has that trouble getting down the stairs and sometimes a slightly wide gait when she runs. However, this could also be explained by her leg being a bit injured. Remember when she molted for the first time and underestimated how much it'd impair her ability to fly and jumped off the coop, landed badly and hurt her leg?
Yeah.
Could be that. She does seem to be more affected by it in the cold. As for Betty, she twice this week briefly did that hunch and close eyes things that chickens do when they're poorly. However, they do the same thing when they're tired, sleepy or trying to relax. She was very alert and reactive to everything going on around her, especially me saying her name, which suggests she was probably just having a little doze. Obviously, all my hens get a lot of observation, so I'm keeping an eye on them. Betty and Wilma both say they're okay when asked, but in chicken culture, illness is seen as a weakness and you don't admit to it for as long as you can hide it. And the same is true with cats and humans as well to a certain extent. One good sign is that Wilma is now really talkative, just like the old days. Fully carrying out her role as pack leader, e.g. a couple of days ago Mabel was laying an egg on that ivy-covered spot on the wall again and she really wanted me to know. I had to thank her and tell her that I know so many times. When she understood that I know, me coming out and checking on Mabel a couple of times, Wilma went off to the hunt in the dirt pit. But then Doris copied and told me that Mabel was laying an egg on the wall even louder. She crowed and barked so loudly that she set off multiple neighbours' dogs barking. She's definitely preparing herself to be a future pack leader. Everyone was happy when I got my Mabel egg. Mabel has been getting more assertive and communicative herself. One morning when I got them up at sunrise, it was cold and wet and cloudy and I was hella tired. I didn't bother making their hot morning mush. In my defence, they barely touch it in such wet weather, preferring regular dry pellets, especially once the warmth leaves the mush. I couldn't be asked making them something they would hardly eat. Later that morning when I was up working at my desk, Mabel jumps up from the patio and onto the windowsill, chirping at me and pecking the window glass. I have photos. She was asking for mush. If I miss out something, then they see as part of their daily routine, they'll demand I do it, though the way Mabel demands it ever so polite. Though she has also this week developing a habit of biting my hand when I'm wearing the poo glove. Rude. She'll stop when told off enough times. Mabel jumped up onto the windowsill again the next day when it was time to ask me for their afternoon seeds and worms. She knocked onto the floor one of the metal Balti dishes in which their mush and other snacks like chopped veg are served. It fell to the patio with a clang and startled all the hens. She hasn't jumped up there since then. Remember around the summer-autumn boundary when Betty put her face in the back door and it was closing and got her face crushed, giving her a scar down the letters on the side of her beak? Mm-hmm. The scar seems to have disappeared now. I guess that's the power of keratin. What beaks, claw sheaths, horn sheaths, hair and nails are made of. I
am happy about that. Because you know what? That lives rent-free in my head. Although I didn't actually see it myself. When you talk about it, I occasionally just think about it.
Good. Yeah, we appreciate these chicken updates.
I do, and they make me happy because I just saw a little bit in the news that there's tons of tornadoes at the moment, and obviously me growing up in Tornado Alley, I'm always like, what's going on? But it's made me happy to hear about the chickens. Yeah. Very happy. Good. I do talk about them outside of the podcast as well.
Yeah, so, if you have photographs, I'm sure Mary would love to see them. Feel free to post them in the Facebook group if you like. You can email them to Mary. Do whatever makes you happy.
What is the the next episode of Totally Schway going to be about, Mr. Luke?
I looked at my spreadsheet and it's actually blank.
Let's talk about Orion.
So you want to talk about Orion? Is that really what you want to talk about?
Yeah, because you could talk about other things like the dark side and stuff like that.
Yeah, okay.
The better sun.
Well, yeah, I suppose so. I mean, I think Orion's a very fascinating character, although they don't really touch on it a huge amount in the DCAU. But
I just want the thumbnail to be the little like pew 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 pew.
Oh, okay, fine.
Is boom tube?
There is a boom tube that he uses. Yes, yes. All right, cool. It's decided. So we're going to talk about Orion next time.
Yeah.
Anything else you want to say before we wrap up? We have gone over. It's been too long. I did say it earlier. I think this time will be under an hour, and here we are, an hour and 38 minutes.
Yeah, I just want to say again, I love you guys, and thank you so much for being my friend. It's been quite a couple of weeks in terms of like, you know, personal stuff and like political stuff and all of that, and it's just nice to have a couple of days where we just sit for a couple of hours and just talk, and not have to think about anything other than some of the stuff we like. Sometimes those things, you know, come into it, but most of the time it's just things that help us not forget what's going on in the world, but remember when we, you know, saw these shows for the first time and how it made us feel. And a lot of the time it's made us feel really great. So thank you for just being my friend, and thank you for not thinking that I'm the weirdo that likes Barbies and
Orion
and stuff like that. Because like I've mentioned, like in high school and stuff, I wasn't the worst person in high school, but I did not have a lot of friends. And I like to think I'm reliving high school, and I've got a ton of friends, and I'm a cheerleader. I'm not going to wear the cheerleading outfit though. I am going to wear a full-on Eartha Kitt outfit.
Riding on Orion's little space flying thing. Pew, pew, pew.
Well, duh. So, all right. I love you guys. Have a really great week. And don't forget to drink water.